Jeffrey Elmore represented this district for more than a decade before jumping into the lieutenant governor's race this year. The candidates are Blair Edens, Stony Green, Dwight Shook, and Larry Yoder. How do you think you stand out in that crowded field?
I think I'm in an uphill battle. I make no bones about that. I'm pretty. In an uphill battle? Well, I think any time that you run for office, it's an uphill battle.
Yoder is a former state trooper who now works as traffic manager for a trucking company.
I've actually been involved in politics for 20 plus years.
Doing what?
I started off as a vice precinct chair, and then I was the secretary of the Alexander County Republican Party, and then I chaired it for. You were the chair of the party in Alexander County? Yeah. Dwight Shook is a college professor and small business owner.
Well, I have some experience already working with the General Assembly from my county commissioner aspect. When I get down there, I can hit the road running. With those connections I have, I know who to talk to, and I know how the system works, where to go.
Stony Green is a Wilkes County commissioner and small business owner. Tell me why you want this job.
Because I want to ensure a prosperous North Carolina for the families and the future generations. They helped me before they knew me. And I see this as an opportunity to go and serve them who have already been so gracious and kind to me.
Edens says that his background includes farming and real estate. He now works for Samaritan's Purse. We asked the candidates if they would ban abortion in North Carolina. Would you like to see abortion banned in North Carolina or not?
I'm against abortion, but I think there are medical circumstances that need to definitely be looked at.
So would you ban abortion but have exceptions, life of the mother, rape, incest, that type of thing?
I would ban abortion knowing that there could be exceptions, yes. That's my opinion. That's as honest as I can be about it.
Do you want to ban abortion in North Carolina?
I'm not a fan of it. I'll just put it that way.
Would you support an outright ban with or without exceptions?
Well, the only real exception to me would be mother's life is at stake. That's one that I can understand.
Do you want to ban abortion in North Carolina?
Well, my Christian conservative values, I am not for abortion, but there is a gray area there for me that I think when a woman's life is in danger, that is the gray area for me. Every life is valuable. 12 weeks is maybe even a little long for that, because a woman would know. She would know when it happened, and she would know in less amount of time.
Do you want to ban abortion in North Carolina?
I want to ban the killing of unborn children. I believe that life begins at conception, and I don't think that we should kill children in the womb.
So you make exceptions?
Yes.
Okay. Health of the mother, rape, incest?
Yes.
We asked each candidate about medical marijuana. North Carolina is one of only 7 states that haven't legalized its use.
I can proudly say I've never used an illegal substance in my life, so I'm not, and I guess the medical side of it, there is a gray area for that, but right now I'm not for that.
You wouldn't support the medical marijuana?
Not right now. No.
And why not? Can you give me a reason?
I guess I'm not educated enough on the subject to give you my personal values, I just do not support it at this time.
If that's going to help relieve the pain of someone so that they not have to go through the suffering they have to with cancer or any other major medical problem, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Dwight Shook spoke out about both medical and recreational use of marijuana. Where do you stand on those two?
Not a fan of either one.
A fan is one thing. I need to know how you would vote.
I would vote no.
On both of them?
Yes.
Can you give me your reasonings why?
Well, to me, the medical leads to the recreational, and I'm not a fan of either one. The primary is March 5th, but early voting is already underway. Bill O'Neill, WXII 12 News.